You're standing over the ball, you reach the top of your backswing, and the instant you start back down, your shoulders lunge, your arms throw the club outward, and you already know it's a slice before the club face even touches the ball. That one move, the very first thing you do to start the downswing, decides whether you hit a shot you're proud of or one you apologize for. Get it right, and everything after it fixes itself. Get it wrong, the way I did for years, and no new driver, no expensive lesson, and no amount of practice will ever save you. Here's what nobody told me. The correct first move of the downswing was written down in plain English back in 1957 in a book that sold millions of copies, and almost every golfer alive is still doing the exact opposite. By the end of this, you'll know the one move that begins the downswing, why it disappeared from the way golf is taught, and a drill you can do tonight in your living room with no club and no ball at all. I remember the exact moment it hit me. I was standing on the range at a beat-up public course outside town, watching my ball sail right into the parking lot for the fourth time, and I had just handed over $1,100 that year for lessons and a new driver that was supposed to fix everything. And it fixed nothing. That's when I realized the problem was never my equipment, it was the first 6 inches of my downswing. So let me tell you what I wish someone had told me 20 years and thousands of dollars ago. Let me start with the lie I believed the longest. I thought the downswing started with my arms and hands. It felt natural. The club is up there in my hands, so of course I pull it down with my hands, right? That instinct feels so correct that most people never question it. And that instinct is exactly what's wrecking your golf swing right now on every single full shot you hit. Think about what actually happens when you pull down with your arms and shoulders first. The club moves out and away from your body over the top of the correct path. From there, you have only 2 ways to hit the ball. Either the face is open and you slice it into the trees, or you flip your hands at the last second to save it and you snap it left. You've been living between those 2 misses your whole golfing life, haven't you? Slice, hook, and you blamed your grip, your stance, your clubs, your eyes, everything except the one thing that was really doing it. Because here's the truth, the range never taught me. The downswing does not start from the top, it starts from the ground. The very first move that should begin your downswing happens in your feet and your hips, not your hands, and it should actually begin before your backswing has even finished. That sounds impossible the first time you hear it. It sounded impossible to me too. But that overlap, that feeling of the bottom half already moving down while the club is still going up, is the single thing that separates every good ball striker from every frustrated weekend golfer. And this isn't some modern theory somebody dreamed up to sell you a video. Ben Hogan wrote it down for the whole world to read in 1957 in his book 5 Lessons, The Modern Fundamentals of Golf. Hogan said it as plainly as a man can say anything. He said the downswing is initiated by the hips, not the hands, not the arms, not the shoulders. He drew the pictures. He explained the order. Millions of copies sold. And yet, here we all are, 60-some years later, still yanking the club down with our shoulders like we never read a word of it. So why did it get lost? Why is the single most important move in golf the one thing almost nobody teaches you first? That's where this stops being about your swing and starts being about who profits when you stay confused. But before I get to that, I need you to understand just how much this one mistake has actually been costing you. Let me put a number on the loss, because until you feel the number, you won't change anything. I didn't. Think about the average lesson. Where I live, a single hour with a teaching professional runs anywhere from $75 to $200. I took lessons on and off for the better part of a decade. Do you know how many of those lessons actually addressed the sequence of my downswing, the order my body was supposed to move in? Not one. Every single lesson was about a symptom. Grip a little stronger, aim a little left, keep your head down, finish high. All of that was somebody handing me a bandage while the wound stayed wide open. I paid for bandages for 10 years. Now add the equipment. Every time my slice got bad enough to embarrass me, I did what the whole industry trains us to do. I bought a new driver, 400, 500, sometimes more, chasing a club that would somehow fix a body sequence problem no club on earth can fix. And the strange thing is, the new driver always felt a little better for about 2 weeks, right up until my old first move crept back in and the ball started leaking right again. Because the club was never the problem. My first move down was the problem, and no forged titanium face was ever going to change the order my hips and shoulders fired. There's a study that finally made this make sense to me. The Titleist Performance Institute, which was founded back in 1993 by a doctor named Greg Rose and a teaching professional named Dave Phillips, put hundreds of golfers on three-dimensional motion sensors and force plates. Force plates are just pads in the ground that measure exactly how your weight and pressure move through your feet during the swing. And what they found is the thing I'd been missing my entire life. In the best players in the world, the pressure starts shifting toward the lead foot, the front foot, the one closest to the target, while the club is still traveling back and up. Read that again. The downswing in the feet begins before the backswing is even finished up top. The bottom of the body is already changing direction while the top of the body is still loading. That overlap creates a stretch, like pulling back a slingshot, and the club gets slung through the ball with speed the golfer never had to force. The amateur does the exact opposite. I did the exact opposite. I finished my backswing completely, paused up there like I was posing for a photograph, and then started everything down all at once with my shoulders. No stretch, no slingshot, just a big, weak, over-the-top heave that sent the ball sideways. All that expensive speed the pros get for free, I was throwing away on every swing and paying for lessons and drivers to try to buy it back. But here's where it turns. Because the number that really stung me wasn't the money, it was the time. I lost years of Saturdays being frustrated instead of having fun. Years of walking off the course angry. Years of thinking maybe I just wasn't built for this game. And the thing that would have fixed it was written down before I was even born. So, who benefits from you never hearing it? That's the part that made me angry, and I think it's going to make you angry too. Let me tell you how this knowledge got buried. Because it wasn't an accident, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The modern golf business does not make money when you get better. Sit with that for a second. It makes money when you keep chasing better. A golfer who understands that ball flight comes from the sequence of his own body is a golfer who stops buying a new driver every 18 months. He stops signing up for the endless string of lessons that treat symptoms. He becomes independent. And an independent customer is the least profitable customer there is. So look at how the game gets sold to you. Every spring, the magazines and the ads roll out the same promise. 20 more yards from this new club. A new shaft that straightens your slice. A ball designed to correct your spin. All of it aimed at the equipment, at the thing you can buy, and almost none of it aimed at the one free move that would actually change your ball flight forever. Because the move is free, you already own your feet and your hips. Nobody can put a $400 price tag on shifting your weight in the right order. And the teaching, at least the cheap and easy version of it, follows the same money. It's far easier to sell you a quick tip about your grip than to rebuild the sequence of your whole swing, which takes patience and doesn't fit neatly into a single paid hour. So the tips pile up. Keep your head down, swing easy, turn your shoulders, and every one of those tips can be technically true while still leaving the real engine of the swing completely untouched. I collected those tips like a man filling a bucket with holes in the bottom. Hogan knew this. Back in 1957, he was already frustrated that golfers were being handed 100 little slogans instead of the few fundamentals that actually mattered. He called his book The Modern Fundamentals for a reason. He wanted to strip the game down to the handful of things that truly move the needle. And the order of the downswing was right at the top of his list. He wrote that the hips lead and the hands follow, and that a golfer who reverses that order is fighting himself on every swing. Then in 1969, a man named Homer Kelly published a book called The Golfing Machine, and he went even further, breaking the swing down almost like an engineer looking at a machine. Kelly described the same truth in his own careful language, that the power comes from the body unwinding in a specific sequence from the ground up, and that the hands and the club are the last thing to release, not the first. Two different men, more than a decade apart, both pointing at the same buried treasure. And still it stayed buried for most of us, because it doesn't sell clubs. If you want to go deeper into exactly why this knowledge disappeared and how to recover it in a way that actually sticks, I've put together a digital book called First Swing that walks through the full sequence from the ground up in plain language anyone can follow. There's also deeper fixes if you want to go further into the mechanics, and a full system edition that covers the whole picture from setup to finish. Everything is linked in the description below. Now, here's the part that really got under my skin, because what happened to this move in golf is not unique to golf. Here's the part that really got under my skin. This isn't unique to golf. It's the same trick used on you everywhere in your life. The most valuable knowledge, the kind that makes you independent and stops you from paying, is exactly the kind of knowledge that quietly disappears from the mainstream because there's no profit in teaching a person to stop needing you. Your grandfather knew how to fix things, preserve things, do things himself. And piece by piece we've been taught to buy the answer instead of learning it. The correct first move of the downswing is a small, perfect example of a much bigger pattern. Once I saw it in golf, I started seeing it everywhere. Now therefore, let me get to the part that actually changes your swing, because understanding the problem is worthless if you can't feel the fix. Maybe right now you're thinking this is too technical for you. Maybe you're telling yourself you're not athletic enough, or you're too old, or your back doesn't turn like it used to, or you only play a handful of times a year and you're never going to stand on a force plate wired up to a computer. If that's you, then this next part is the part I made specifically for you. Because the beautiful thing about the real first move is that it needs no technology, no gym, no flexibility, and no talent. It just needs the right feeling. And I'm going to give it to you right now. Stand up. You don't need a club. Put your feet about shoulder width apart like you're about to hit a shot. Now I want you to imagine you're standing sideways to a wall, and there's a heavy door beside your front hip that you need to push closed, but you can only push it with your body, not your hands. To close that door, what do? You press down into your front foot and you shift your weight and pressure toward the target, and your hip clears out of the way. That pressing down and shifting toward the front foot, that is the first move of the downswing. That is the whole secret in one feeling. Now feel the difference against the wrong way. Do it wrong on purpose so your body learns the contrast. Make your first move by spinning your shoulders open and throwing your arms out away from your body. Feel how your weight actually hangs back on your rear foot when you do that. Feel how off balance and weak it is. That is the over-the-top move. That is the slice. That is the move I made 10,000 times. Now go back to pressing into your front foot first and letting the hip lead. Weak, then strong, off balance, then grounded. Do that 10 times right now, and your body will start to understand something no magazine ad ever wanted it to. Here's a second drill you can do tonight in your kitchen, and it's the one that finally made it click for me. It's the step drill. Take your normal stance, then slide your front foot back so both feet are almost together. Start your backswing, and as your arms go up, step your front foot back out toward the target and plant it, pressing your weight into it, and then swing through. That step, that plant into the lead foot happening while your arms are still going up, is the exact overlap the force plates measured in the best players in the world. You're teaching your body the correct order by force. Lower body goes first and toward the target. Hands come last. You can do this with a broom, a yardstick, or nothing at all, standing on the kitchen tile with the lights low, and nobody has to know you're rebuilding the single most important move in golf for free. And let me answer the doubt in your head before it stops you, because I had the same doubt. You're thinking, if I start my weight forward first, won't I just fall all over the ball and top it? No, the opposite happens. When your pressure moves toward your front foot early, your upper body actually stays behind the ball a fraction longer, and the club drops onto the correct inside path automatically. You stop coming over the top not because you're trying to, but because your lower body cleared the way and gave your arm somewhere better to go. The fix isn't 100 thoughts. It's one move that makes a dozen problems solve themselves. That's how you know it's a real fundamental and not another bucket with a hole in it. Let me give you a way to check yourself too, because you can't feel your own swing while you're making it. Take a video on your phone from straight behind you, looking down the target line. Watch the very first moment your club starts down from the top. If your hands and the club move outward, away from your body, and out toward the ball line first, that's the over-the-top move, and it's costing you every round. If instead you see your lead hip clear and the club drop down and behind, closer to your body, before your hands take over, you've got it. That single frame of video tells you more about why you score what you score than any launch monitor number the pro shop will try to sell you. But here's where I have to raise the stakes one more time, because doing the drill is not the same as trusting it on the course. And this is where almost everyone falls back into their old, expensive habits. The move I just gave you will feel wrong at first. It will feel like you're going to hit it thin, or left, or lose your balance. And that uncomfortable feeling is the single reason most golfers abandon the correct move within one bucket of balls and go crawling back to the slice they at least know how to live with. I did that for years. I would feel the right thing for 3 swings, get scared of it, and quit. So before I give you the final piece, understand this. The goal is not to make the right move feel comfortable. The goal is to keep making it while it feels wrong long enough that it becomes the only thing you know. That's the bridge nobody warns you about. Now, let me give you the finale. This is the piece that pulled everything together for me. And it comes straight out of that force plate research from the Titleist Performance Institute and the biomechanists who studied the swing frame by frame. People like the researcher Sasho McKenzie, who spent years measuring exactly where the speed in a golf swing actually comes from. Here is what they found, and it is the most counterintuitive, most valuable thing I have ever learned about this game. The peak amount of pressure in the lead foot of a great player happens near the top of the backswing, not at impact, where you'd expect it, but almost at the moment the club is finishing its journey up. Then, as the club comes down and speeds up, that pressure actually starts to come back off the front foot slightly, and the golfer pushes up and against the ground. They call it the vertical push, or the ground reaction force. The great player uses the ground like a springboard. They shift into the lead foot early, and then they push down and up against the earth, and the ground pushes back and launches the club through the ball. Think about what that means for you. All those years I thought speed came from swinging my arms harder. It doesn't. It comes from the ground. It comes from that early shift into the front foot and then a push against the earth, the same way you'd jump, the same way you'd throw something as far as you can. Watch a child skip a stone across a pond and you'll see the perfect first move of the downswing without a single lesson. They step and shift toward the water before their arm ever comes through. Their body knew the sequence before anybody could teach them to do it wrong. And here is how you steal that feeling this week. No equipment, no force plate, no cost. Take your stance, and as you swing to the top, feel your front heel press hard into the ground, so hard you could almost feel yourself getting ready to jump off that front foot. Then start down by pushing that front foot into the earth and letting your hip clear, and feel like you're standing up and pushing away from the ground through impact, taller at the finish than you were over the ball. Press into the ground, then push off of it. That's the springboard. That is the move Hogan pointed at in 1957 with his hips, that Homer Kelly diagrammed in 1969, and that the force plates finally proved with hard numbers decades later. 3 sources, 3 eras, 1 buried truth, and now it's yours. The knowledge was always there. Hogan wrote it in plain words and drew the pictures. Homer Kelly took it apart like an engineer and showed the sequence. The scientists measured it down to the pound of pressure in the fraction of a second. And in between all of that, an entire industry found it far more profitable to sell you a new driver and a bucket of quick tips than to hand you the one free move that would end your dependence on them for good. It got pushed aside not because it stopped working, but because it worked too well and cost too little. And now you're holding it. You didn't just learn a golf tip today. You stopped a quiet, expensive bleed that's been running for as long as you've played this game, the money on clubs that couldn't fix a body sequence problem, the lessons that treated the symptom and never the cause, the Saturdays you walked off angry when the answer was written down before you were born. You took that back today, and it didn't cost you a dime. And that tells me exactly who you are. You're the kind of person who would rather understand the machine than keep feeding coins into it. You'd rather own the knowledge than rent the fix over and over. That's rarer than it used to be, and it's the whole reason this channel exists. So do this for me. Go stand up right now, do that step drill on your kitchen floor, and then come down to the comments and tell me one thing when you made the wrong move on purpose. The shoulders first heave. Could you feel your weight hang back on your rear foot? Just tell me yes or no, because I read every one of these, and I want to know how many of you felt that exact thing I felt on that range 20 years ago. Type it out. Yes or no. It matters more than you think. If this cracked something open for you, subscribe and stand with the rest of us who decided to stop paying to stay confused and start recovering the knowledge somebody quietly took off the table. Because next time, I'm going to show you the one thing your trail hand, your backhand on the club is secretly doing at the top that adds a slice you can't lessen your way out of. And it's got nothing to do with your grip. You're going to want to see where that one leads. Now, this video showed you the first move. But inside the Old Ways Almanac, I pick up right where we stopped and walk you through the full hip-first downswing sequence, drill by drill. And if something isn't clicking, you can ask me directly. I answer you myself, no robots. You won't be doing this alone either. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. And you can cancel anytime.